It feels like it has been a long time since I uploaded a new video. I was very busy with some renovation in my home and also with work, so I was quite tired and it took me a while to edit and come up with this new video. It is not a new oil painting I will tackle here today. I'm revisiting an oil painting of a night I did 2 years ago. It was the first painting I showed you at the very beginning of this video. At the time I painted it, I was quite satisfied, but now when I look back at it, I can see that I actually had no clue how to really use oil paint. If you take a closer look, the layers are really thick, the detail of the face and hair are not fine and precise. It is because when I started, I didn't know yet how to properly layer the oil paint, how to balance thinner layers with more textures and thickest layers. If you compared it with the recent paintings I did and that I'm showing you, you can see the difference. Even if I'm still on a learning journey, the results are more delicate. I'm really paying attention to the effect I want to get. Some areas are a more glazed effect, a more transparent effect, especially where I need to paint very fine details, and some of the layers are more textured, especially for backgrounds or nature. So for this painting, I want to get a more glazed, a more transparent finish. I want to refine the features of the face and as well the hair. I'm deliberately showing you my two main reference images I used for coming up with the concept painting. This way you can see what my inspiration is and which type of effect I wish to get. It is a scene of a night in the middle of a springy forest. I would like to improve the details of the armor, especially the chainmail, which is, for my opinion, too rough. The forest as well is too rough. I want to keep some textures for the forest, but I want to improve the depth of field in the background to really give the effect of hazy trees vanishing away in the distance. Coming back to the reference images, I'm now working really from my imagination mainly. I don't say that I don't like this painting concept, but I think I'm leaning too much on the reference image, especially for the position of the night, which is exactly the same position as the reference image. And this kind of things, I don't like it anymore. I prefer now to come up with my own ideas concerning how my character should stand or move, even if it means that it's not really perfect or accurate. Now when I'm using reference images, it is more for looking for backgrounds, for color rendering or atmosphere. So the first thing I'm doing is sanding down the painting, the process you have just seen. Then I will apply some walnut oil after cleaning the surface with tissue paper. I was working on another oil painting, and that is why I'm using a palette already used. While I'm waiting for the layers to dry, I don't want this oil paint to be wasted, and I thought it would be a good opportunity to finally improve this painting of the night that I don't like anymore. But if you are interested in the current result of this painting before I change it, there is a video on my channel and I will link it below in the comment section. I will apply the color layer by layer, wiping down the painting to remove the excess, and progressively I will thicken the texture of the painting, adding details. The good thing is that I have a very good base from the previous painting, and it just felt that I was not painting from scratch. I do think the proportions and the composition was quite good. Now it's just a matter of refining everything. Looking for more delicate colors and nuances, playing with textures, especially for the forest. You will notice that I finally ditched the flowers. I want to keep the painting more simple and focus the attentions on the night. Regarding the feature of the knight, I will give him a more expressive face, looking serene and solemn, as if he was aware of his duty. The face will be quite androgynous. I like this type of face. It is not realistic. The painting is definitely on the imaginative side, but let's say I was quite inspired by the actress Meryl Streep when she was younger. It is an actress that I admire a lot, and no matter which age she is, I think she is always beautiful. The glazing effect for the hair is definitely a good technique if you want the details underneath to still be apparent. We can still guess the metallic color of the armor under the strands of hair, an effect I really like. I also decided to add more golden reflections through the armor, on the helmet, on the arm, on the sheath as well, in order to create more cohesion in the color scheme. The golden color is pairing well with the blonde hair of the knight, I think, and complements nicely with the green background of the forest. Regarding the forest, I reworked the bark of the trees, which are trumbles, if I'm not mistaken, making them more white and adding the dark spots which characterize this type of trees. For the grass, I played with a variation of shades of green, going from a very light to a dark, almost black green, and this variation gives the feeling of very dense and compact grass. Far away, the grass turned a very light green and blended with the fog. I also applied a very light shade of grey in the background to create this foggy and hazy effect, and painted with a very light tint of pink the bark trees, giving the feeling that they are melting with the mist far away. The foliage is overall green with some white spots to create this effect of sparse leaves, also created by the little branches scattered all over the area. The sword in the middle is very white because I really wanted the sword to be visible. I used the impasto technique, which means that I applied the white in a thicker layer to create textures and highlights. As I used a glazing technique mostly for the whole painting, The impasto technique, which comes at the very end, really creates this effect of texture for the sword, but also for the helmet and for some part of the armor. It gives weight to the material of the armor as if it is real metal. The indent of the texture gives dimensions as well to the armor. Also, thanks to the sanding at the beginning, the grid of the chainmail is refined, so we just glimpse the lines of the chainmail. It is no longer as visible as before. The grid is receding behind compared to the other parts of the armor, and this also gives a dimension, I think, to the armor. Now I will let you watch the rest of the video and I will come back at the end to give my final thoughts regarding the result. I didn't put any music because I think I'm tired of looking for music that I finally don't really like, and I'm a bit fed up with always hearing the same music over and over again in all YouTube's videos. So sometimes there is no sound at all because I was listening to music at the same times, which could be copyright. But most of the video recording are with an atmospheric rainy video soundtrack, something that YouTube at least does not forbid you to listen at. So we are arriving at the end of this process painting and at the end of this video. Now overall, what do I think of this new painting, of this new version? I think I prefer this one, which corresponds more to the type of oil paintings I want to keep on doing, which are more refined, with more details. It was also a good way to see how I improved my oil painting techniques. I feel more confident. I'm still figuring out many things, but I know more about the textures of oil paint, how to layer, where it is better to use transparent layer, and where a thicker layer will be more beneficial to the composition and to the effect I want to get. Now I'm not entirely satisfied by the painting, by the results, especially the light and shadow in this painting. I think the contrast could have been sharper. I think it is something I really want to work on for my next oil painting, how to create sharp contrast and how to properly blur the edges. So I hope you like this video, showing that it is always possible to rework and to revisit a painting that you don't like. Nothing is definitive, I can still work on it, but for the moment I will stop here. Thank you again for watching and see you for the next video. Bye bye.